Cultural institutions in Old Town are demanding change. They say conditions there are deteriorating rapidly, calling it a, quote, crisis of humanity. And they want immediate action from Portland City Council. How urgent is this?
Now, it is extremely urgent.
And a woman who survived COVID, thanks to the intensive care unit at OHSU, is now back home.
I was given a second chance, where so many people were not.
Here's the story.
One will tell it tonight. I like to come in with like a little dance move.
Yeah, we all know.
And then I say something hokey like, howdy y'all, or something like that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Hi everybody. Welcome to the story. I am Dan Haggerty.
And I am Maggie Vespa.
Hi there.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so
my whole name.
You may have heard things are going to be changing here on the story. This is my last week on the show. Thursday is my last day here. A lot of you have been asking, well, who's going to take over the show when I'm gone?
And the answer is, cue it, Rod Hill.
I didn't see that coming.
I did not see that coming either. He has amazing posture, though, as you can see. And we're frankly told this show works better for his golf schedule.
I think maybe, I'm thinking maybe it should be you. I'm gonna put in a word. I think it should be Maggie, because she is the clear and obvious choice to do this show. Does it better than me. So I think everybody is going to be in for something good, but she is amazing. And I think if it wasn't you, I'd be picketing out front.
Oh, well, that's really sweet. You guys should know that I wrote ad-lib something heartwarming into the prompter for Dan.
That's as heartwarming as I have.
Delivered. But seriously, I'm thrilled. I'm honored. Dan was instrumental in building this show and creating this show. It's been an honor to be on it with you. And there's no replacing this guy. Like, as you know, truly one of a kind. But we're going to try our best. And I'm really excited. I
think we all are. Nothing's going to change on the show other than me, though.
Yeah. Absolutely. The team, the format, and by the way, we have a huge team behind this show, but you know, the format that they created and the focus on your feedback, that's most important. None of that's going to change.
Absolutely. So keep reaching out, keep sending us those emails, send us your tweets and your questions and your comments. And for now, it's Hey Dan. Next week, it is Hey Maggie.
A lot of meetings went into that one.
I know, too many meetings. It seemed like an obvious choice for me. But look, Maggie, I know you're no stranger to this show, but let me do my thing. I'm going to show you real quick how it's done, okay?
It's going to be a long 3 days.
Here we go. All right, welcome to the, is this the right, it's
Yikes.
Okay, that didn't go as planned at all.
There he is.
Welcome. All right, so I'm going to take this show to the Old Town Road and report until I can't no more, which is Thursday, as we just prefaced. But last time we checked in with Old Town, we heard from the executive director at the Lansu Chinese Garden, who described the nightmare that they're dealing with down there, that everyone is dealing with down there. Homelessness, suffering, death, violence, fires, threats, drugs, and all of it, ironically, outside of a place that was built to instill tranquility in Portland's oldest neighborhood.
I have had staff in the last week assaulted. I have had staff in their cars chased with people chasing after them with metal pipes. We had somebody die on the streets right next to Lansu. We have had gunshots. All of this is too much to ignore and not address. We will do what is necessary for us to keep our staff, our visitors, and our volunteers safe.
So that's the executive director. That was Elizabeth Nye. I talked to her a few weeks ago. At the time, one of her biggest frustrations had to do with the city, how she felt our leaders were responding to the community and their pleas for help. If I gave you the power as police chief or as the mayor, what do you think? Do we need more police down here? Do we need more resources to get people care? Do we need,
I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. Some of the conversation has shifted to everybody knows what the problems are, so don't come to me unless you have solutions. That's what we're being told. Well, I don't have the solutions. My job is to run Lansu. Your job is to show up and make our city safe so that we can do that.
People felt her frustration there. The garden got a lot of support after that interview. Perhaps that community felt a little bit of momentum, because then yesterday they sent a letter to the city and it said, it's past time for you to take the necessary action to fix the city we all love. We ask that you personally meet with us by no later than October 22nd, 2021 to discuss your commitment to lead and the specific actions that you support for Old Town. We need to hear the city's plans for adding police and combating rising crime. And we need the county to step up and deploy mental health. Now, that mental health aspect is a huge one. It is out of control down there. There is no other way to describe it. Actually, there is another way to describe it, like what we heard from Scott Kerman with the Blanchet House. Now, this is a person who's seen this firsthand for a long time, handing out meals, working with this community for years. He told me this.
There is so much mental illness in our area. There is so much addiction and so much trauma that it is becoming increasingly challenging for us to provide services and for people to receive services. If it's not in front of you and if you're not down here all the time, you really can't appreciate what we're seeing. There are times when we see things in our district, and this was certainly true in the initial weeks and months after everything shut down in March of 2020, that were reminiscent of what you would see in news footage for war-torn or famine-torn areas, perhaps in developing countries. That was happening right here. People in half states of clothing, with illness, and sleeping in the street, and that's what we're seeing down here.
Those are powerful words, and if you watch this show regularly, they're not the first time you've heard them. I've played those interviews several times. I don't know how many times. We keep playing them. So many of you reached out every time that you hear those words, and you tell us that you too are disturbed by them, that you are sad about what's going on down there, and you ask, what is the city going to do about it? But nothing has happened until now. Commissioner Mingus Mapps responded and said, I hear and understand the frustration expressed in the letter from organizations in Old Town. It is one of the primary reasons I voted to extend the Clean and Safe contract and its new mental and behavioral health resources. I hope that with the expansion of Portland Street Response, we will see added services to the area. I will work with and support the Portland Police Bureau in any effort to intervene on criminal or unlawful behavior. Okay, great press release. But Old Town said they wanted to meet in person no later than October 22nd. That's next Friday. And apparently they were listening to that too. Elizabeth Nye with Lon Sue sent us this email recently and said, so far, I've been able to schedule a meeting with Commissioner Mapps for this Thursday at 4 p.m. We have also scheduled a meeting with Chair Kafuri in Multnomah County on 10/22 from 10 until 10:30 in the morning, making some progress, hopefully. She said some other leaders have also reached out to set up times to talk, and let this be a lesson to you. The news can help, but there's nothing like a good old-fashioned letter to get the job done. We're going to keep an eye on this story and let you know what happens next.
All right. And with that, let's talk about the housing crisis specifically in Salem now. Last night, we told you the city of Salem was reconsidering plans for a homeless village on that property right there. Well, tonight we can tell you they're done with that. They're done reconsidering. They're going full steam ahead as long as this property doesn't flood. Yeah, that's still a wild card. We'll explain. We brought this story to you yesterday. The property sits on Wallace Road Northwest. The city owns it. And last night, the city council voted not to reconsider putting the village on that site. Councilors were weighing nixing the plan after neighbors kind of rose up in force. A lot of them there. They told us repeatedly and told the city repeatedly that location was a bad idea. They argue it's too close to apartments, it's too close to an elementary school and a retirement community, and they also say it floods in the winter. The city council said they are investigating that last point, but for now, they will move forward with the plan. Simply put, councilors say Salem, like Portland, has a housing crisis and people need help, and they want to put enough tiny homes on that property to house 60 people, giving preference to seniors. So again, we will keep you posted. All right, let's get to the big story here tonight. For the past 2 months, we've been telling you, and you know, the Delta variant has overwhelmed hospitals in Oregon and in Washington and frankly, all over the world. And back in August, you might remember, we visited the ICU at OHSU in Portland. And we saw younger people, mostly unvaccinated, fighting for their lives. Well, tonight, we have the story of one woman who was near death in that ICU when our cameras were there. But today, she's out of the hospital and recovering. Christine Pedawanich has her story.
And I just saw this video.
The reality is that out of all of our patients, they're all COVID positive. The reality is a lot of them will die.
That said, overwhelmed, Oregon's ICUs, and I'm like, let me just watch that. And then I saw myself. I just saw my hair. It was longer then. And I had 2 stuffed animals that was given to me in the hospital. I had never seen myself like that. Kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Miranda Rich says this is her. Just 2 months ago, 29 years old with COVID-19, hooked up to a ventilator and an ECMO machine, what healthcare workers have described as the highest form of life support. It's a last-ditch effort to save a life. Back in August, KGW went into 2 Oregon ICUs as the Delta variant surged across the state. One of them, the medical ICU at OHSU in Portland, where more than a dozen people with COVID lay in a coma. Rich says she was one of them. In early September, Rich woke up. She beat the odds.
I was lucid enough to ask one of the doctors what happened to me. And she told me about the ECMO, about it being my last shot, and basically I was borderline dead without being called dead. And that I was a miracle.
After she got home and watched the video, Rich decided she wanted to tell her story.
And I was like, maybe they need to know that somebody made it, that somebody out of the ICU actually did make it and is alive. I don't want to be known as the heartbreaking case of a young woman who was unvaccinated and covered in tubes.
She's recovering with her family in the small town of Hamilton, Texas. Her ordeal started in late July when she, her husband, his grandparents, and another relative visited family in Oregon.
But then we all started feeling bad.
She ended up being admitted to a hospital in Roseburg, where she found out not only did she have COVID, she was anemic. After several days, Rich says she was airlifted to OHSU. Doctors were frank with her family.
The doctors even told my mother I was not going to leave the ICU. They were already warning her I was probably going to die.
But she didn't, despite being unvaccinated with anemia and pneumonia associated with COVID-19. Rich says her mom and husband got COVID early in the pandemic. She didn't get sick, so she thought she was safe.
And I just never thought it was going to be me. But like I said, most people don't think it's going to be them until it is.
But now she's vaccinated.
Like I said, I can't afford to get COVID again.
And also believes the vaccines helped keep her 87-year-old grandmother-in-law and 92-year-old grandfather-in-law safe when they got COVID. For now, Rich is rebuilding strength in her body and lungs, recovering with the help of family.
She's a miracle, an absolute miracle, and she's a fighter.
Meantime, she has constant reminders of what she endured.
I had a trach. The other tubes were shoved in me on either side.
Scars that will stay with her forever.
My husband says, wear them with pride because you fought a battle that not many people have won.
And these stuffed animals, also seen in her hospital room, are reminders too. The pink one given to Rich by her mother.
This one is a mystery. When I was at Mercy, somebody gave it to me, and I don't know who.
Rich wants her story to give people some hope.
I hope they hear that it is beatable, and I will be forever grateful for OHSU for what they did. By all accounts, medically, I honestly should be dead, but they fought for me, and they saved my life. I feel okay, I've been given a second chance, and I don't want to waste it.
Christine Pedawanich, KGW News.
Let's keep talking about the healthcare workers for a moment, because less than a week from now, healthcare workers are going to have to be vaccinated in this state. The governor's mandate takes effect on Monday, and that's hundreds of workers with Kaiser and Legacy who are already on unpaid leave right now. But a lot of them have requested medical or religious exemptions from the mandate. We know that most of those requests have been denied, but not all of them. We talked to Pat Doris about it today.
Okay, Pat Doris joining us now. So, Pat, we know that a lot of people wanted exemptions. Some people got them. Most people didn't. What is the hospital telling you about it?
Well, they're telling us that they had a very deliberative process and that everything was carefully studied, and that most people, you're right, did not get these exemptions. But it was interesting when I tried to pin down the HR director for Legacy on exactly how many people did get the exemptions. She really did not want to answer that question. Take a look. How many exemptions have been given?
We had hundreds of people apply for an exception. The majority of those were denied. However, we did have some medical exceptions and some religious exceptions. We aren't saying how many.
And why won't you share how many, what the number is?
First of all, what's happening is every single day, we're seeing that some of those who were even approved for a medical and a religious exception are getting vaccinated.
Well, would there be a harm in, for example, sharing the percentage if you don't want to share the raw number?
Well, we've shared the percentage of employees who are vaccinated, which is greater than 95%.
Right. But I'm still trying to get to sort of some sense of the percentage of exceptions that were granted.
Oh, percentage of exceptions among those that applied for an exception?
Yes.
Yeah, we aren't answering that question. We know there's going to be a lot. There will be many challenges.
She eventually said that she didn't want to give the number because she knows there's going to be challenges, probably lawsuits, and I think she's trying to protect and hold some stuff back.
What do people in the community, what should we expect in the Portland area if somebody needs to go to the hospital? We've been hearing so much about shortages in general, and now this has been certainly part of the conversation when it comes to people and whether or not they will keep their jobs and if some of these hospitals will be understaffed. Will people in the community notice a difference?
Well, Legacy says no. Of course, they would say that. They have about 700 people on unpaid leave. And they say that they have closed some little clinics that are out in the community. Some of the urgent care clinics have closed because they haven't been able to staff them. But other than that, they are sharing resources. They're getting people to work overtime. They expect that this is going to be a short duration thing and that most of us, if we end up in the hospital, and hopefully we don't, would not even notice. That's their spin. We'll see if that's actually correct. But they do have a huge employee base, so they probably are going to be able to pull that off, Dan.
Got it. All right. Pat Doris, thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have Pat on. All right, let's do the daily vaccine count check-in. Cue the giant numbers. As of this afternoon, more than 5.1 million Oregonians have gotten at least their first dose, and a lot of them have also gotten their second dose. We're at about 67.3% of the state's population with at least one shot. Over to Washington now. More than 5.1 million people have gotten at least their first dose, which works out to about 68.1% of that state's population.
Finally, some good news. The state of Oregon made more money than it needed, and now they're going to give some of it back to you. We'll explain how much you could get in this year's kicker refund. And we're going inside the KGW vault for a look at the aftermath of one of the worst storms ever to hit the Pacific Northwest.
On the Morrison Street Bridge, the wind gauge there registered gusts up to 116.
When the story continues. Looking through questions and comments and everything you guys have to write in about Maggie Vespa taking over the show. Everybody's very excited. A couple of people were disappointed when they found out we were only joking about Rod Hill taking over the show, but the guy's already got a pretty serious gig in the morning. I don't think he can handle this schedule, frankly, but it is Maggie, so rejoice, everyone. Use Hey Dan for the time being, but by next week it's going to be hashtag Hey Maggie. This will not change, and it's our Hey Help campaign. This week we're asking you to please consider donating to Rehab's Sisters. They're an organization that helps out women and gender nonconforming people who've dealt with some of the hardest things in life: poverty and homelessness, sex work, violence, and substance abuse. They provide people with food and supplies and in-person gatherings to build community. If you want to help them out, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Just hold your phone on your camera on your phone to the QR code on your screen, and it'll take you to a link to a donation page. Or you could just go to kgw.com/Hey Help. This is a micro donation drive, so feel free to give any amount of money, no matter how small. All right, who couldn't use an extra few $100 in their taxes? I mean, everybody. Sorry, Washingtonians, not you. This only applies to Oregonians, but don't worry, you guys don't even pay income tax anyway, so who cares? In Oregon, though, you get a kicker refund this year. It's actually the largest kicker Oregon has ever given out. The state took in $1.9 billion more than it forecasted. Who did that forecast? I'd like to talk to them. So
When you go to do your taxes next year, you will get a percentage of that back. So how much? That's the big question. Well, of course, it's different for everybody. Every situation is a bit different. But according to the Department of Revenue, all you have to do is, quote, multiply your 2020 tax liability before any credit, which is line 22 on the 2020 form OR40, by 17.341%, and boom, easy peasy. There you have it, your kicker amount. I mean, how easy is that? There's like one accountant at home going, it is easy, trust me. Look, there's a much easier way to figure it out. If you are not an accountant, you can go to the Oregon Department of Revenue's website, click on What's My Kicker, enter your name, your social security number, filing status, and let the computer do all the calculating for you.
Yeah, that was painful just listening to that, Dan. Thank you. All right, switching gears here. 59 years ago, more math. A huge storm slammed the Pacific Northwest. Look at this video, all from our vault, which gives you a clue as to the segment coming up. Winds, just to recap, topped 100 miles per hour. 46 people were killed in this storm, mostly by falling trees and debris, and 50,000 houses were damaged. That storm ravaged California all the way up to British Columbia, but Oregon got the brunt of it. So, with that, let's dive into the KGW vault and travel back to October 1962 to look at the aftermath.
The force of the storm was recorded on wind gauges around the state. At Corvallis, winds gusted up to 127 miles per hour. On the Morrison Street Bridge, the wind gauge there registered gusts up to 116. The wind literally tore off rooftops. It subsided during the night, but left behind tangled wires, shattered windows, downed trees, and left thousands of homes without phone service or electric power. People lined up to buy dry ice to preserve their frozen food. Camp stoves were at a premium. Much of the loss was insured, and the cost of repairs forced many insurance companies on the brink of bankruptcy. Those not covered by insurance merely bore the loss. The forest industry was hard hit. The wind knocked down $250 million worth of prime Douglas fir. Wind also knocked down our television tower. Channel 8 was off the air for a week until a new temporary tower was erected to replace the old one.
It's incredible to look at. We love diving into the vault, so send us your ideas to look back at old events that happened, major events in Oregon history. Another event, Rod Hill is going to be so confused tomorrow. We did not check with him. Should we have checked with him before we made the joke that he's taking over? But a lot of people either loved the joke or for a moment thought it was real. Keep sending in your comments, your questions to the story at kgw.com. We'll address a few if we can after the break when we finish the story next.
All right, let's read some comments. You have to be feeling pretty good right now.
I'm feeling pretty good, but I feel so bad for Rod.
So many
given him a heads up.
So many people are writing in the nicest emails about Maggie taking over the show. Patricia wrote in and said, should Maggie be Dan's replacement? Heck yes. She's bright, articulate, and funny. I agree with all of those things.
Well,
and the thing that touches me the most is just that so many people care about this show that we do.
Very true.
And that it matters to them who stands up here and does it. And it's been an honor for me. I still got a couple nights left, but there's nobody better than this person right here. So
yeah. We'll be warming up all week. Your last night is Thursday. We're going to do this, I think, for the rest of the week.
I have a Costello thing here we got going. Yeah, so that does it for us tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow. I usually walk off this way.
I was going to go.
You're going to go here?
I'm going to go this.
Let's just
go. Okay. I'm going to go this way. Here we go.
Me too.
Here we go.
This way
Here we go.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.